All right, let's dive right into this. The FIFA World Cup is back. The stadiums are absolutely packed, the entire globe is tuning in, and nations everywhere are dreaming of ultimate glory on the world's biggest stage. But once again, we've got a massive, intensely football-crazed nation of 1.4 billion people completely missing from the picture. Think about that for a second. We literally see countries the size of small cities like Iceland, with a population of barely 380,000, qualifying and competing against the giants. Yet India is left watching from the sidelines.
So it naturally brings us to an incredibly frustrating question. Why is India always missing? Now, if you ask around, you're going to hear the same lazy myths repeated over and over. People will tell you, oh, it's a cricket-obsessed nation, or they just don't have a real football culture, or maybe there's zero infrastructure. But listen, if we actually dig into the data and the history, we quickly realize those excuses completely miss the mark.
The absolute most common myth thrown around is that there's just no money in Indian football. But the undeniable fact is, and this is crucial, over the last decade, thousands of crores have poured into the Indian game. We are talking about massive corporate backing, flashy investments, the whole shebang. So if cash definitely wasn't the problem, what actually was?
To really understand the drop-off, we have to recognize that India wasn't always on the outside looking in. And we don't need to invent some mythical golden age to prove it. We just have to look back to the 1950s. Under their legendary coach, Syed Abdul Rahim, India developed a distinct, highly competitive style of play. They were a genuinely respected Asian football nation. This entire era peaked brilliantly in 1962, when India captured the Asian Games gold, actually stunning South Korea in the final. The future looked incredibly bright. But sadly, after Rahim passed away, what followed wasn't just some overnight collapse. It was actually something far more dangerous. Decades of structural stagnation. While other nations around the world were busy building, evolving, interconnected football ecosystems, India was relying on isolated moments of individual brilliance. And eventually, that momentum simply faded away.
Okay, fast forward to 2014. This was the year Indian football finally got what everyone assumed it desperately needed: massive, game-changing funding. The Indian Super League, or the ISL, launched with an absolute bang. We're talking A-list Bollywood celebrity owners, famous cricketers buying up teams, these flashy marketing campaigns, and jam-packed launch events. On paper, 2014 looked like the ultimate turning point for the sport in India.
But their strategy had a fatal flaw. They were essentially building the penthouse before building the rest of the building. Think about what that actually means. The ISL created this incredibly shiny, wealthy, top-tier league. They had the massive spotlights, they brought in aging international stars. It looked great from a distance. But by focusing all that money and attention exclusively on the penthouse, they practically ignored the grassroots foundation underneath it.
And this creates a really stark contrast when you compare it to a truly successful footballing nation. Just compare India's isolated, top-heavy ISL to England's interconnected football pyramid. When most fans look at England, they really only see the glitz and glamour of the Premier League. But to truly understand system building, you have to look right past that glitz, down into the gritty, highly connected system beneath it.
You see, England's immense footballing wealth doesn't just spontaneously generate at the top. Not at all. It's fed by a massive foundational network. We're talking about thousands of local clubs, multiple divisions, local academies, community pub teams, and semi-pro leagues playing on muddy pitches every single Sunday. This foundation keeps entire communities deeply, deeply invested at the local level. It creates a continuous web that catches and nurtures raw talent right from the ground up. And this entire engine of competition, it runs on one ruthlessly simple yet brilliant mechanism: promotion and relegation. If you perform well, you move up to a harder league. If you fail, you get dropped down. I mean, it sounds basic, right? But it is the absolute heartbeat of their success. It means that even the smallest local club always has something real to fight for. And more importantly, every single young player has a visible, tangible pathway from kicking a ball in their local park to the very top of the professional game. So what does this all mean when we put the two systems side by side? Well, India built a top-heavy system with severely limited mobility and a weak grassroots base, basically starving the layers beneath it. England, on the other hand, relies on a true bottom-up foundation with performance-based mobility and continuous growth. And here's the broader governance lesson hiding inside this football story. A top-heavy system eventually starves its own base. The Premier League isn't successful just because it's rich. It's rich because the highly connected pyramid beneath it constantly produces fierce competition and nonstop opportunity.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this explainer. The lesson we can pull from football history here is pretty fascinating.
Long-term success rarely belongs to the country with the most people, or even the most money. It belongs to the country with the best pathway. Every single country has raw talent, and we know for sure India now has the money. The real challenge is creating an ecosystem where that talent can consistently rise. So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this exact question to ponder. Is India's problem really talent and money, or is it the pathway that connects them?